Hey y'all, it's Kat. Do you ever just meet those people in your life that have a superiority complex? Some people aren't aware that they even have it, but then you have others who are just full front, out and center with it, and are not afraid of letting you know that they think they're better than you. And I guess the whole reason for me making this video today was because, I've recently been dealing with a lot of people like this in my everyday life, more specifically at my job. And I've always kind of wondered what makes people develop these certain types of complexes. But at the same time for you guys today, I'm gonna have a bunch of interesting and just crazy stories that you guys are gonna wanna hear. We first have to really understand what causes these complexes, and it can really just stem from maybe a person having early childhood issues, maybe low self-esteem, also maybe lack of attention, etc. But then you have other people that, and I've had many cases of this, and especially business owners that I've worked for, to where at a certain point they got a certain amount of money and they rose up in their social status, and then that is what caused them to develop these superiority complexes. But there's also something else that's very interesting about these people that struggle with these superiority complexes, because it's been said that they also struggle with an inferiority complex. This can also stem from a lot of insecurity that these people might have, and they just can't stand it when they aren't acknowledged and people are criticizing them. They just don't know what to do in certain situations where people are against them, because it's like, they just want to have everybody on their side. And it's always like, it seems a constant need for everyone's validation. I found that a great way to deal with people like this is, well, first of all, you need to really just be empathetic towards them. And like I said, trying to understand certain things that may have happened to where they have this complex, because you have to realize too that pretty much anything you say to them is probably not going to change the way they think. And also, you just have to really set your boundaries and stand your ground, but you have to be very calm and collective while you do so, because there's nothing that infuriates them more to when you don't really give a reaction, because then it hurts their ego, and that's what they're wanting to get out of you, is a reaction. Now we get into my favorite part of the video, which is going to be the stories. So recently at my job, first off, it's really sad when you would think that adults, when they get to a certain age, that they would be mature and be leading as an example, just being role models for the younger generation. But there's a couple there that I work with who, they're in positions of power, and they, for some reason, just think that they can talk to everybody just however they want to, and then think that, they can do the bare minimum and just sit on their butt and sit on their phones all day while we just do everything else. And there's this one man in particular that works there, and everybody was telling me when I first started to watch out for him, because he has a very big ego and he's so full of himself. But the craziest thing was, me and him actually had connected on a certain level, I guess, because of things I had told him I wanted to do in my life in the future. Like, I wanted to have my own business and all these other things. But then it got to a point where I just didn't really appreciate how he was talking to the younger people there. And some of the people that work there are 18, 19, 20, and he would always say certain things to them like, you guys just don't have any idea what you're doing. You need to look to me as an example. Nobody works as hard as I do, and I'm not going to tell you how to do it. I'm going to show you how to do it. But you're still never going to be as good as me. Just things like that. The funniest thing too is that he would sometimes try to throw certain things in my face like that. But I would always kind of just stand my ground jokingly and defend myself. And, you know, that's, like I said, that's kind of just what you got to do. You just got to be calm about it and don't really blow up and cause this whole big scene. But I think the thing that really got me the most is that, you know, just the other day, he made a mistake and then he was trying to put the blame off on somebody else. And I'm just thinking, are you just serious right now? I mean, you're an adult, dude. Like, you can't take responsibility for your actions. And I'm just sitting there thinking, I could just never be like that. I mean, even if it was a horrible mistake that I made, there is no way that I'm gonna put the blame on somebody else. And now comes story number 2, which I promise you guys, you're gonna wanna grab your popcorn, your soda, anything. But this is a story that, you know, I've told other people in my life, and plus the people that I worked with at this job in the past, I mean, they know. But I think this has honestly been brewing for a long time. And yeah, just gonna let you guys know, it's gonna be crazy, so get ready. So when I graduated college 3 years ago, I moved away from my hometown and then I went to work for this business, which I'm not gonna say what it was, but you know, I had an interview with, I guess, the granddaughter. And just to let you guys know too, it was an independently owned business, and this family had had businesses for years that had been growing up. And in the beginning, I thought this family was just amazing, but some of them weren't really there. You know, they were kind of just silent owners. But the granddaughter was actually my general manager. And it's just crazy to me because in the beginning, me and her got along so well. You know, I honestly thought she was the most chill, most coolest and lenient boss ever until she wasn't. A couple of months into the job, there was this one incident that had happened to where she, I guess, had kind of started to show her true colors. But first of all, you guys, I just want to give you this picture, or just picture it in your head. Do y'all remember that show Kitchen Nightmares with Gordon Ramsay? And remember that specific episode with Amy's Baking Company? If you remember, Amy was that psycho, crazy lady who was married to her husband, who was also the owner of the business too. And they always were threatening to call the cops on people. They couldn't take criticism. I mean, nothing. They're the types of people, they're always like, you know, my business is perfect, and if you complain, you know, there's no complaining. I'm always right and you're always wrong. And that's exactly how my manager was at this job. But the incident I was referring to was, I think it was about a couple of months in, there was a mistake that was made on our part at the job, which made our customers upset. And one day these people had come in complaining about it, and it was me and this other girl who were trying to handle the situation. And I guess she heard from her office what was going on. And, you know, she's coming out there trying to figure out what's happening. And I forgot specifically what had happened, but she was blaming the customers, I guess. And then she was, okay, first of all, these customers weren't even getting belligerent. They weren't even loud. They were understandably upset for the mistake that we made, but my psycho manager was just threatening to call the cops on them for no reason when they weren't even doing anything. And it just got to a point where I was thinking, just wow, can she not take criticism at all? And I had heard other people try to talk to her about certain things in the past before, but then she just ends up blowing up on them and talking about all these irrelevant things that don't even matter. She's always saying things like, and she even said this to me too at a certain point, she was like, well, I can run circles around y'all. You know, me and my family have worked too hard for this, and, you know, I'm just never going to let anybody take advantage of me ever. Another thing that really got to me too is that a couple months after I had gotten there, there was this girl, she had been there since the very beginning, and I guess my manager had felt the need to boost her own superiority complex because this girl had one as well. And she would always say things to me like, you know, I've been here since the beginning, and I pretty much get to tell people how to do their job, and just because I have a right to, since I've been here for so long. But again, like I said, when it comes to certain things like that, you just don't really even need to give these people the time of day. You can honestly just ignore them because, what they say really just means nothing. And I honestly just sit there while they're talking to me like that and give them a look like this. And this is honestly, I think, the best part of the story, because when I had left this job, it was a couple of months before I did, and my manager was just, I don't know what had happened. She just went crazy, and she was just getting so upset over everything. And she would have these meetings with us individually, and then one day she had one with me, and she was accusing me of all these different things that I didn't even do. But throughout the whole meeting, she had said things, like, I'm not gonna let anybody take advantage of me. I run circles around this place. Y'all can't do as much as I do. But I was just sitting there the whole time giving her that look again. And at that point, I felt like, you know what? I'm just done. I don't even want to deal with you anymore. You're just absolutely ridiculous. I'd also forgot to mention while I was there, I was doing 2 jobs in 2 different departments. And plus, I had my degree, and I wasn't really getting paid what I deserved, in my own opinion. So one day I went to talk to her about it, and she was also pretty much telling me that, do you really think that a pay raise is going to help you? And oh my gosh, I was just sitting here thinking, well, you complain that you can't pay us enough, but then you go and spend all of your money on things that this business doesn't even need and are not going to sell. But there's one last great part of the story that really gets to me, because just recently I'd eaten out in public by myself a couple of weeks ago, and she was actually there at the same restaurant I was. And I didn't really know she was there until a certain point. And I kind of just turned around and I saw her sitting with her family. And if I had walked past her, I probably would have said hi or something. But honestly, I just didn't really want to give her the time of day, just after all I had been through with her. But then recently, somebody that I work with at the job had, she still works there actually. She told me that the other day, she said, oh yeah, Kat saw me at the restaurant and she didn't even say hi. And then this girl had told me that she said, oh, well, maybe it's because of the way you treated her. But it was just hilarious to me because, she just got so butthurt over it. I'm just thinking, why did she even bring that up to begin with? But again, guys, like I said, people with these superiority complexes, they can't stand it when you ignore them or don't acknowledge them. In this video today, it was kind of, in a way for me, like a release, like a venting video. But at the same time, I just felt it was very important to make it, because I always like to say this, and I've said in recent videos, don't ever think you're above anybody else just because you have money or a certain social status. Because, you just never know what could happen. You could lose all of that tomorrow. And, then what will you be left with? Honestly, to me, it's all about, what a person's like and just staying humble. And I think the thing that helps me get through everyday life is knowing that we're not going to take it with us when we pass away. So, like I said, it's just very important to stay humble and help others. But, it's not always everybody who has money or a certain social status that's like that. You do meet some philanthropists and other people like that donate to charity, and they just enjoy helping people. I had also said in the past that I would always be paranoid if I was a billionaire or had money, because then you have to really think, I mean, who's your friend, or do people really care about you, or do they just want you for your money? And yeah, I mean, I just don't know. I mean, I can honestly say I'm blessed with everything I have right now. I mean, I might be struggling here and there, but I'm trying to just take life one day at a time and just being thankful for everything that I have. But other than that, I hope you guys enjoyed this video today. And again, I'm really interested in hearing your guys' stories about anybody that you deal with in your life with these superiority complexes. But yeah, stay blessed. Love you guys, and I'll see you in the next video. All right, bye.